Are we live? I'm a few minutes early for another unscheduled live stream. Let's see who shows up first, and then let me know if there's audio and how it sounds and how it looks. Let's see here. Do we have audio? Another impromptu live stream. Okay, we're getting all the notifications that we're going live. Let's see who shows up first. I'll bet you David SJ is first. I'll bet you he's first. Let's see. Oh no, David SJ, yep, he's live. And I was gonna say, David, I wanted to see who would be first. Would it be you? But Lewis came into the chat right before you did, I think, or right around the same time. So that's perfect. Hey Lewis, what's going on, buddy? Let me expand this a little so I can see the damn screen. Let me go that way. How's everybody doing? How's the audio? Audio sounds great. Video looks great. Awesome. Last week I had a whole different camera, whole different lens, whole different light, whole different setup. Oh, we got a lot to talk about. A lot has changed in a week, that's for sure. Let me come over here and see if I am live on this screen here. Let's look. We should be. Oh, there we go. Oh, let me turn down the volume. All right, we're there. It looks good. It looks good. Audio sounds great. All right, we'll see who shows up. How is everybody? Thank you again for joining me. We got some new toys we want to tell you about. Talk to you about some different things. Take some questions like we always do. And just hang for a bit. We did a live stream last week where we talked a lot about Wes Audio gear along with Warm Audio. And I want to tell you, Alberta, what's up, brother? And I want to talk to you guys about Warm Audio stuff too, because I recorded the videos for the WA76 and for the WA2A, and they're scheduled to be on YouTube. I think one goes up next week and one goes up the following week. And I'd love to tell you about my experience with that and let you know what I kind of found out and what my early conclusions are about Warm Audio stuff. And just the hardware in general. I've been playing with hardware now a lot, as you guys have seen, right? So I got a whole 500 series rack now of Wes Audio stuff that I started to play with. So I haven't used all the pieces yet, but I've used a couple and they're really great. And now we got this thing we get to talk about tonight. We did the Warm Audio stuff, and I got more stuff coming in probably in the next month or so. Yes. There is a lag here on YouTube. Yeah, I don't know why. Well, there always is a lag, but it seems like nowadays the lag is more on YouTube. Or I don't know if my, because I'm not doing live streaming at the computer. Once again, I'm doing it here. You can actually see it today a little bit. I don't want to pull the wires out, but I have this video switcher which has encoding software right in it for live streaming, so I don't need to use OBS. Even though it's hardwired, it's not Wi-Fi. I wonder if that's why there's a little bit more of a lag. It'll be interesting because next week or the week after, we'll do a live stream from the main workstation again, and we'll have to see if it changes because I don't know if it'll be any better or any worse than it is tonight. But as long as it looks good and everything looks like it's in focus and it sounds good, we'll deal with it. So we got 8 people here that'll be kind of floating in. And then we'll chat a bit. If you guys have any questions about anything, by the way, feel free to ask. I'd love to take and listen or take some of your questions and see what you guys want to talk about. And then we'll talk about another training course that's ready to go for next week. Dave will be putting links in the chat soon. We'll wait till a few more people show up. But anyway, just so for people that care. So last week, as I said, we did a live stream from this kind of new set that I have here. And as you probably can see, or if you weren't here last week, the video's still up on YouTube. You could go check it out. The angle's a little different. And after watching last week's live stream, after rewatching it, I noticed a couple of things. Hey, Ian, what's going on? Is this live? Of course. About 3 minutes. You're only 3 minutes late, brother. You're right on time. I just sent out a Facebook post and a Instagram post maybe an hour ago. This wasn't emailed that we were going to do this because I wasn't quite sure I was going to be set up and ready to do this. So it's kind of, again, like last week, kind of impromptu. So anyhow, after rewatching the live stream last week, there's a couple of things I noticed. Maybe you guys noticed it when it was live. The audio sounded fine last week, but I noticed that there were certain sections of the live stream where we were showing products and it would focus and it wouldn't always come back and focus on me, which was a problem. And the other thing I noticed is that the depth of field, because of this new set that I'm in, which is kind of small, the lens that I was using really wasn't a low enough millimeter. So as always, I jump into the money pit of trying to figure out how to make things better for you guys, and I enjoy doing it anyway. And so one of the things that was suggested to me by another colleague, another YouTube person, was telling me, I was looking at one of their more recent videos from like a week or two ago, and the picture quality was stellar, and the depth and the angle and the width was perfect. So what are you using? And my live stream didn't look like that last week. He said, I'm using a Sony camera. I was using Canon. He said I was using a Sony, and he was using a 16mm lens, where I was using an 18mm lens. And so I had a Canon. I bought a second Canon to do live streams from this location to leave my main workstation all set up. Well, I sent that back and exchanged it for the Sony that this guy's using, the Sony A6600 with a Sigma 16mm lens. And boy, I don't know, maybe you guys can't tell because you weren't here. You know, you don't remember last week, but I could just tell by looking at some of the test footage I did. It looks a lot more sharp, a lot more rich, the colors, and it's a much bigger angle. Now you can see the table and you can see everything in front of me, and the camera is actually much closer to me than it was before. And it just looks, I just feel like it looks better. So I switched out the camera, switched out the lens. Got a different light that with a bigger softbox to give me a little bit more lighting here. And I got it all on this, which I'm going to do a video next week. I got it all on this mobile roll-around stand by Triad Orbit. It's called the T3 microphone stand, and it's got the casters on it. It's their tallest one and the most rugged of all of their stands. And I have all these little attachments and clamps. So I have my camera. I have two monitors that I'm looking at. One is recording the live stream. It's a smaller 5-inch monitor. One's a 13-inch monitor, so I could see myself a little bit better. It's got a clamp for my Rode microphone, which is up here. It's got a clamp that's holding my light on here. And also audio recorder that I showed you guys last week. So this whole thing just kind of moves around. When I'm done doing a video here, I could just wheel this off into the corner or into the other room, and I just fold up this table and I throw it in the back. And then when I want to do a video, I set the table up, pull the stand right in front. One plug goes into the wall, and we're rocking and rolling and recording. So that's what we're doing. And so that's, did a lot of switching up from last week. We got 11 people here now. That's really cool. Ian got a GoPro Hero 8. Oh, cool. Oh, you do Twitch live streaming. Excellent. But was not aware that I needed a mini SD card. Yeah, I think the GoPros need a, yeah, they have the real tiny ones. Yeah, I used to have a GoPro. I used them a few times, and for my use, it didn't really do the trick. But GoPros are awesome, man. They're really nice and tiny, and they really work well. Oh, as a matter of fact, I used a couple of GoPro Hero 7s about a year ago when I did an open mic. Our band did an open mic night, and I took these two little GoPros, I put them on two clamps, and I put them on either side of the stage and just shot in with the camera audio, which is kind of shitty, but the picture quality was great. I mean, so the GoPros really have great picture quality, and it's such a wide lens. It's a super wide thing, so you could get a whole stage really, really nice, which I really, really like. So cool. Let's see. Jim says it looks a lot better. Oh, good, man. Thanks. I think so. I tell you what. Yeah, I'm over. Don't get me started, because now I'm thinking about. I'll rewatch this tonight or tomorrow. But I'm shooting in 4K at 24 frames per second. What I like about the Sony is it's got the automatic face tracker and the eye tracker. So like on the screen, I could see it's locked in on my eye, and if I put product up or put it down, it follows me. It locks right back in on your eye, so you're never out of focus. The subject is never out of focus, which is great. But now I'm thinking, man, I wonder if I should sell my Canon that I'm using at my workstation and put another Sony up there with the same lens, because it just seems like the colors are so much nicer. And the lens that I'm using on that Canon is another Sigma lens. It's the 18 to 35 millimeter, which is a really great lens. It's great in low light, but this one's even better in low light. I have the ISO on the camera almost down, I think it's a 200, where last week it was at 800. And so you can really drop the ISO, because this thing gets, the lens brings so much lighting. You can be, and I'm in pretty low light here. There's one little box light, that's it. So, Yeah, this video thing, man, it's like audio, man. It's a whole, it's, you know, it's a craft learning all this stuff. But anyway, I enjoy it and I'm glad that you guys are digging it. So we got 16 people, which is really cool. So as you can see here, last week we talked a little bit about this. This is the Wes Audio NG bus compressor, mastering stereo bus compressor. And I remember showing it to you guys last week. And because it's black, it may be a little bit difficult to see. But I'm going to bring up the screen in a bit and show you the plug-in and show you how it works. I've been testing the digital recall and the control on the other Wes Audio stuff throughout the week. And I got to tell you, it works flawlessly. It's just like a plug-in. Whatever settings you leave on that hardware, you go from one session to another. It brings it right back up. From what I've used so far, it is yet to not have saved my settings. It's perfect, which is great. And this does the same thing. So I think I told you guys last week, Sweetwater had a couple of these left, and I said I'm not ready to buy one yet, but I was able to work out a deal where they sent this to me on loan. And if I want to keep it, I can buy it at one point, but they sent it to me so I can, because I told them when I do the Wes Audio videos for the 500 series, I'd love to do a video for this as well, to do the whole Wes Audio product line. So they sent this to me. So I get to keep it for a few weeks, and if I like it, I can buy it, and if I don't like it, I can send it back. So I'm really, really interested to hear this, and we will do that. There are going to be videos. We will do probably a live stream where we'll have all the Wes Audio stuff up. I'll have a session up and I'll show you how it all works, and we'll do all of that together. Plus there'll be separate videos for each one of the modules, this being its own video, and then the other 4 modules that I have will be 4 separate videos, so you can see how that all works. And then I'll probably also do a video on how it's all kind of cabled and wired up for people that are new to hardware. The one thing about having hardware is there is a ton of cabling that you have to get everything in and out of your audio interfaces, which is a lot. So I've had to buy some extra cables and stuff and do all that stuff, but we're going to do all of that stuff. So that'll be really cool. Yes, and David SJ has the, I'll bring up the screen now. As a matter of fact, I could bring it up now and I could show it to you. So while we're waiting for maybe some more people to show up, there'll be people that'll show up. So let me come over here and let me switch the camera here so you guys can see it. So this is the NG bus compressor. And again, this is on Sweetwater as well. If you guys are ever interested in picking it up, again, Dave will put the link in the chat. Again, if you missed last week, and what's really great about Wes Audio stuff in general, the thing for me, the thing that was the game changer is that, as I said last week, it's 100% recallable. It means that it's analog signal path, and we'll talk about this specific compressor. There's real transformers in there. It's all that stuff. It's like regular gear. It's not digital gear. It's analog signal. But the plugin controls it digitally. So you can either touch the plugin or touch the hardware, and it saves the settings just like a plugin. And to me, that's a game changer for hardware, for recall purposes. So this is a stereo bus compressor. It can be run in stereo, dual mono, or mid-side, which is great. It's loosely based off the Dione that we saw last week, the SSL 500 series, the Dione compressor. That's what this is with more features. That's like having 2 of those in one box. However, they have a bunch of extra features in it. The first being is down here in the left-hand corner, they have the total harmonic distortion, which is now sweepable from 0 to 100%. On the Dione 500 series, it's a little button that you can go from off to low or to high. It's like two settings and then off, 3 settings. This is completely sweepable and has a lot more saturation that you can add if you want. It also has this thing called iron, which is the transformers. You won't hear this, but as I were to switch, and we'll do this when we get to the plugin. When I turn the iron dial, you can hear the relays inside of the units clicking and switching. So you have the transformers as well. You don't have that in the 500 series. And I think there's a few extra ratio settings, a little bit more expandability there. You can save 3 different presets digitally. So let's say you have you know, you have 3 different presets you want to save for different styles of music or different tracks or whatever. You could save those under A, B, and C, and then you could switch between them again, just like a plugin. This is a 3 rack space. It looks big, but it goes in 3 racks. It is about 17 inches deep. It's, you know, not any bigger. It's about the same depth as, say, like an 1176 compressor. It's just taller. And so this will be really interesting to try. So, you know, you can read about it on their website here if you're interested in it. It talks about, you know, all the different transformers and the components and some of the things that they have inside. It talks about how the plugin kind of works. You can see here it's got the Carnhill transformers. That's what they also use in their 1176 model as well. Oh, it's also got a wet dry knob for parallel compression, which is really nice. It's got sidechain filtering that you can do as well. It's got 5 ratio settings. You could save the presets, as I said, and it's got the 2 meters, obviously. And then here's the plugin. And so I'll show you the plugin here. Let me switch over to Studio One so you can see it. So here's the plugin. So what you might be able to see in my window here, the picture-in-picture, if I were to say take the threshold and just turn it on the plugin, you'll see it. Hopefully you could see on the hardware. See on the hardware how the LEDs go up and down. See that? Right? All the knobs on the front of the unit, just like on the 500 series, are touch sensitive. So if I were to touch one of them, you'll see that they light up on the, and if I turn them, you can see when I put my finger on it how the LEDs get brighter on the front of the unit. Maybe you can't see that as well. Let me go back here. See how when I touch it, how it lights up, any of these things that I touch here. And then I can turn this. And like here's the transformer, hitting the transformer harder or softer. And I can hear, maybe you can hear that, maybe you can't, but you can hear the relays clicking inside. And so this is kind of nice. And again, when I adjust the hardware, go back to the plugin, you can see that the plugin changes along with it. So to me, that's killer. That's what makes this whole experiment for me worth it. Whether it sounds any good or not, we're going to find out. I'm sure it's going to sound good. I can't imagine this stuff would not sound good. But we're gonna check it out. So that's the plugin of it, and that's how you control it. You know, and again, it's on the master bus, and you can use this for mastering, for mixing. Again, you can use it in dual mono. So let's say you wanted to use the left side for drums and the right side for bass, or however you want to do it, you could do that as well. And it'll be interesting. So there will be a bunch of videos on this for sure. We will definitely do them, and we will do a live stream together where we actually listen to it, and I'll have a second camera at the workstation so you can see me adjusting it, and you'll see the plugin and you'll see the whole thing. So that should be really, really interesting. I'm really excited to try that stuff. Let me get back to the chat here and make sure the live stream's still running. There we go, cool. And so, yeah, so that's going to be fun. That's going to be a lot of fun. So the other thing I had to get, now that I have this hardware with all the other stuff that I got, I had to expand my I/O on my Universal Audio Apollo. So I had to pick up an expansion, which, you know, in order to give me more ins and outs, because now I got quite a bit of hardware here, which is totally cool. It's going to be a lot of fun. What do we got? 16 people here. Cool. So we'll talk a little bit more about, I want to talk to you guys also, and I'll take some questions as well. I want to talk about the warm audio stuff, the videos I just shot for that, and I want to tell you what my first impressions are and give you a little bit of an insight to that. But before I talk to you about that, I want to let you guys know that on Monday, if you're on my email list, you'll see it. If you're not on the email list, you should be. But even if you're on the email list and you don't want to wait till Monday, Dave will put a link in the chat in a minute or two. The last of the Made Easy series courses that I redid is coming Monday. Or for you guys, you'll actually be able to get it right now if you wanted it. So mixing with analog style plugins Made Easy has been completely rebuilt, just like all the other Made series that I've been rebuilding since about Thanksgiving of last year. This was the last one to do. So for, again, most of you guys have heard this, but for guys that have not, all of the Made Easy courses on the website, the original courses are all anywhere between 5 and 6 and 7 years old. And starting right around November of last year, I decided, as I've been thinking about for the last couple of years, that it was really time to upgrade those courses to bring the quality level up. And because now I think I've just gotten better at delivering the product, teaching the product. I've taken a lot of your guys' feedback. I incorporated a lot of those changes into the new courses, and I started to systematically rebuild them. Some of you guys have EQ Made Easy, Compression Made Easy, Mastering Made Easy, Mixing Made Easy Volume 1 and 2, and now Mixing with Analog Style Plugins Made Easy. And I want to talk to you about the differences between these two courses. As I had said many times, but it's worth saying again, and Dave and I have had lots of private conversations about that. I gotta thank Dave publicly because Dave has really been a good sounding board for me as I've been going through this thought process. You know, when you do this stuff and you make these courses and you're in your bubble here, you know, and I'm on camera with you guys, but I don't get a chance to talk to a lot of you guys in person outside of chat here. Sometimes it's hard to know, am I going in the right direction? If I'm going to redo these, to have a sounding board. And Dave and I have been doing a lot of chatting over the last 6 months. And one of the things that I expressed to him as we were kind of talking through, should I redo all these courses? If I'm going to redo them, what can I bring to them to make them way, way more comprehensive and just a better product than what the original was? It was real important to me that I just didn't recreate the product just so you saw the latest version of the DAW, but nothing really inside of the course changed, and just launched it just so you guys would spend more money and buy an upgrade that really wasn't an upgrade. I really wanted to make sure that on all of these courses, that if I was going to redo them, they had to be much more content. They had to be much more concise and to the point. They had to be updated in quality. The audio files had to be better quality. The songs that we were going to mix had to be better. And so Dave has helped me a lot with kind of sifting through that, and it kind of helped guide me to make sure that before anything came out publicly, that it kind of passed the litmus test. And Dave has been the litmus test. Jimmy Farmer has done some of that. Randall, some of the guys that have been around with me since the beginning, and I know there's more of you for sure. But the same thing with the master class, you know, those guys had early access to it. I really wanted to make sure, is this a far better course? Did I hit the mark before I release it to the public? And so I really do think on all of the ones I've just mentioned, we really did do that. And I think anyone that's, you know, got any of the upgrades would attest to that. I haven't gotten anyone that sent me any negative feedback and thought that the new course wasn't way better than the original. But Mixing with Analog Style Plugins, that one was the last one to be done, and it was last for a reason, because it took a lot of time and a lot of planning and a lot of back and forth with people like Jimmy and Dave to really talk through, because that course, the original, I think is pretty good. I think it's a pretty good course. I mean, it was one of the longer courses that I had ever put out. It had a lot of content in it, and I really think it hit the mark. But I really wanted to say, well, how can I make this one better? How can I make it better? How can I make it so it's worth somebody checking out and not just an upgrade for the sake of being an upgrade? And after many months of talking through this and planning through it, and then I don't know, about 2 weeks of actually 2 solid weeks of me down here 6-7 hours a day, redoing the course section by section, I think out of all the Made Easy courses that I've redone, this one has the most amount of changes in it. Not that the other ones didn't have a lot of changes. So what I want to do, if you guys would be so kind to listen, I want to tell you about, there's 7 main things in this new version of Mixing with Analog Style Plugins that was not part of the first one, for a variety of reasons. 1, because I didn't know any better 7 years ago. 2, because maybe some of the plugins weren't available, and it's just, you know, just didn't for whatever reason. So, and then Dave will put the link in the chat if he hasn't done so already. Starting Monday, anyone that already had the original will get an email with the ability to buy the new one at a 40% discount if you want it. Dave's putting in the link in the chat, so even if you don't have the original tonight for this live stream, if you go out and use that link, you can get 40% off, even if you didn't buy the first one originally. But if you bought the first ones on Monday, that will be on sale for 40% off. But let me just tell you about, and then I could take questions if you want to ask me anything specifically about it. And then I want to talk to you about warm audio. So I hope that's cool with you guys. So in the first thing that's way more comprehensive in this new version of mixing with analog style plugins is that there are many more different manufacturers' plugins that we go through. So in the first one, if you don't have the first one, I primarily focused on two real manufacturers, Slate Digital and Universal Audio. And really only those two for the most part, because at that time, that's all I was really using. I didn't have Plugin Alliance and IK Multimedia and Arteri and all, I didn't have all of those. I used Universal Audio, Slate Digital, and I had a few waves that I was using. This time around, there are far more plugin comparisons. So in the first, I think it's the first 8 sections, Dave would correct me if I'm wrong, but it's certainly the first 7 or 8 sections of that course. We go through each different type of plugin and we compare the differences in sound and how you use them between them. So for example, there's an entire section that's almost, 90 minutes long on just tape machine plugins. So we compare every tape machine plugin that I own. Universal Audio, there's 3 of them, Waves, Overloud, I might know I'm forgetting some already, but there's at least IK Multimedia. There's 4 just in that package alone. We listen and compare about 7 or 8 different tape machine plugins, show you what the differences are, show you where I would maybe use one over another, how they sound different, and kind of talk you through those things. We do the same thing, a whole section just on channel strips. Same thing. I only had a few channel strips back in the original course. This time around, we're listening and looking at every channel strip I have by Plugin Alliance, Waves, Universal Audio. I mean, you name it. If I have it, we brought them up. We listen to them. We look at them. We talk about the differences. Same thing with EQs, a whole section on EQs. That's far more extensive than the original. There's some brand new sections that we didn't talk about in the original course. There's a whole section on just preamp plugins and how preamp plugins can help you when you're looking to do an analog style mix. We didn't talk about preamp plugins in the original course. There's a whole section on saturation plugins that wasn't part of the original course. So the very first point here is that there is many more plugins that we go through, way more than the first one. And not just showing you what I own, but section by section, listening to the differences, where you would use them, how I would use them, and then giving you my honest opinion on these I like, these are kind of this one I recommend, this one not so much. Because I do that with you guys all the time. I really point you in the direction of where I think, if you're looking at these kinds of plugins, ones you may want to check out. That's point number 1. Point number 2, we have a whole mastering section in this course that wasn't part of the first one. So at the end of the mix, when we're done mixing the song, I'm going to show you some mastering tools, some mastering plugins and things that I didn't even own when the first course was created, and how you can use those in your mix session where you don't have to offload to a third-party software, although we do talk about that as well. The third section that we have that wasn't part of the first one, we have an introduction to hybrid mixing. So it's not real deep into hybrid, but I actually have an analog compressor. I show you how to hook it up. I show you how to use it. I show you what the differences are, and I kind of give you an introduction to, well, what is hybrid mixing all about, and how would it kind of work or fit into your digital workflow. That wasn't part of the first course either. This course has not only one set of multi-tracks, but you're going to get 2 sets of multi-tracks. In the first 8 or 9 sections where I'm comparing all the different plugins and we're listening back and forth and we're listening to all these wonderful plugins, we're using one set of multi-tracks. We didn't mix that song, we just used it for demonstration purposes, but you're going to get that set of multi-tracks so you can mix the song if you'd like to. Then when we get to about section 9 or 10, through about section 20. We mix an entire song from start to finish in real time using some of the plugins that we used in the first 8 or 9 sections. So we took everything we learned in the first 8 or 9 sections and we apply it to a mix. You're going to get those multi-tracks as well. So you're going to get 2 sets of multi-tracks. The last time you only got 1. There's also 5 bonus videos that wasn't part of the first course in addition to the entire course, where when we were talking about, for example, 1176s, we were talking about compressors and comparing all different types of compressors in one of the early sections of the course. But what we didn't do is we didn't sit down and say, well, let's compare every 1176 together, and then let's compare every LA2A together. We didn't do that. But I have 5 bonus videos where I do that. So you'll have a bonus video of an 1176 where you'll see all 7 1176s shot out and compared together. You'll see the same thing for LA2As. You'll see the same thing for Pultec EQs. Okay, so, and there's one more. I forget what the other one is. I think it's tape machines or something, but there's 5 bonus videos on top of the course, all included. There's also a video where I talk about the difference between, or explain the concept of how plugins affect your computer's CPU and performance, and or if you're a universal audio user, DSP, and what the differences are and how that all kind of works. Because we talk a lot about plugins in this course. And we talk about in great detail how if you put plugins across your whole mix, how that can affect your computer's performance. I have an entire video that talks about that. So if you're confused about that concept, I have a whole module for you to explain what are the differences when you use certain plugins? How can it affect your computer's performance? What do you want to look out for when you're talking about computers and possible computer upgrades? And the whole technical side of that and computer specs, there's a whole video on it. There's also my podcast episode that you guys get. You guys have probably already heard, but I included that as well, the MP3, where we talk about computer upgrades. When you're going to upgrade your computer in your studio, when should you upgrade your computer, what specs should you be considering when you're looking to upgrade. That podcast is put into the course as well. Again, everything I just said in the last 5 minutes, none of that stuff was part of the original course. This course is 27 videos, okay? The original one was 20. This course is over, from start to finish, over 20 hours in length. The original one was 12 hours. Okay, so this is 7 more videos, about 8 additional hours of content, and it's brought up to 2021 standards as far as quality, the latest plugins, all the stuff that we've talked about and you've seen on my live streams, or if you're part of my mixingmadeeasy.net community, some of the plugins that you've seen me do, that's all part of Mixing with Analog Style Plugins Made Easy. So I'm very confident and feel very good about that. This course is really head and shoulders above the first one. The first one I thought was really great and you can get a lot out of it, but I think you would get much, much more out of this new one. So if you're interested in it, you can get it at 40% off starting, well, you can get it 40% off starting now, but it's going to go on sale next week. It's only going to be on sale for a week and then it's going to come off sale and it's going to go back to full price. So if you want to jump on it and you want to check it out, it's available for you. Check it out. Let me know what you think. I appreciate it and thank you in advance if you want to check it out. And I'm really excited about it. And now we have pretty much the entire Made Easy series has been redone. And it won't be redone for many, many years because these are going to be good for quite some time. So that's that on Mixing with Analog Style Plugins Made Easy. So if you have any questions about it, I'd be glad to, to answer them or whatever you want to do. Let's see who's in the chat and see what's going on. We got about 20 people here, which is great. Jim. Hey, Jim, what's up? Wow. Ian, I find multi-printing tracks as you make semi-changes helps not to be impulsively trying to finish a job faster than take a few days as your ears need to be more fresh. Oh yeah, and fresh and that day to mix is final. That's a good idea, Ian. That's a great idea. I think David S.J. does something similar in his workflow where he kind of pre-mixes and prints and stuff. He has a pretty involved workflow as well, or at least he did up until recently, unless he's changed it. And so he does something similar, which is cool. Let's see, who else is here? Let me scroll back up here. Juan, hey Juan, what's up? I've been drooling over this Wes Audio stuff. Yeah, it's really good. I'll tell you that the 2 modules in the 500 series that I played with, that I've had time to play with, I'm going to shoot videos for them this week, are the Dione, the SSL thing, and the Pultec EQ. I forget the name of it. I'll tell you what, that Dione compressor, man, that thing sounds great. Wonderful on a master bus. Love the way that sounds. Their Pultec style, the passive EQ, really good as well. Really good as well. They just sound really rich, really full. They have a really nice 3-dimension to them. And what I like about at least the Dione compressor, it has the total harmonic distortion saturation switches, which really, I just put it on full blast. It just sounds great. And this has even more than that, apparently. So those Wes Audio things are really cool. And you'll see videos over the next 3 or 4 weeks. I'm going to start shooting them next week. The 2 that I shot this week were for Warm Audio. And so I did the 1176, the WA76, and I did the WA2A. And here's what I'm going to give you. I want you to watch the videos, obviously, because you're going to hear a lot of sound examples, but I want to tell you what my first impressions were. So as I've said, and the only reason why I brought Warm Audio into the studio is because a lot of you guys asked me about Warm Audio. You guys asked me over many live streams about Warm Audio. So I got with my buddies at Sweetwater. They sent them to me as, you know, for loaners, so we can do some sound comparisons. Now, the one thing that I'm always concerned about, and it's not just Warm Audio, any company that does this, where you could take, let's talk about their WA76, the 1176. Their 1176 is $599 US, okay? A Universal Audio 1176 is $2,400 if you bought one new, like a new one coming off the line. If you tried to buy a vintage one, you could pay upwards of $4,000, $6,000, depending on which version, how old it is, what condition is it. A vintage one is a lot more money. But $2,400 for a brand new one versus $600. So it's what, 4 times the cost, right? I always worry about how do you make something, how do you clone something? Because it's clearly a clone. They're not pretending it to be anything other than the 1176. You've seen it. It looks just like it, and it sounds just like it. How do you do that for 1/4 the cost without cutting corners on components or craftsmanship or both? And I don't know. And more importantly, how does it sound, right? Because that's what matters. I am concerned about a piece like that longevity-wise. Are you going to have problems with it? Are you going to have problems with the servicing of it? I don't know. I can't say that you will because I don't know, but that's one thing that comes to mind. But then most importantly, how it sounds. And here's what I'll tell you. When I compared it in the video that you'll see next week or the week after, if you compared it to, I compared it to the Wave CLA 76, the black face compressor, because that's what the Warm Audio is, and the Universal Audio one. And I will tell you that the one that sounded closest to the hardware was the CLA, and you'll hear me say it in the video. As I was listening back and forth, and what I got it set up beautifully, so you could just go A, B, A, B. You could hear it go on, off, and go right back and forth between hardware, plug-in, hardware, plug-in. There's no gap between, so your ears know exactly what you heard a second ago. That the Warm Audio hardware, the 1176, seemed to be a little more 3-dimensional to me. I noticed that it just had a little bit bigger width and a little bit bigger depth. The CLA compressor was very close to that hardware. The Universal Audio, on the other hand, seemed a little more 2-dimensional, a little thinner. It didn't have as much punch to it, if you will. I think we compared it on, we did acoustic guitars, we did drums, we did a couple of different instrumentation. And that surprised me, that the Universal Audio one sounded quite a bit different than the hardware. The CLA was much closer. But there was definitely a little sense of depth. And again, I'm not talking about miles, I'm talking about a little bit. And a little bit more width to me. And the 1176 hardware sounded a little bit more compressed, whereas the plug-in seemed a little bit more transient heavy and a little bit more upfront. And I used the same settings. Now, what I also noticed is that the release time on the hardware, watching the meter and the way it would release, if you put the same place on the plug-in, the release was a little different. So I compensated for that. And I talked to the video on that. You'll have to see, it's a real interesting video. And so that's what I found on the 1176. It was a little bit different sounding. When I did the LA2A, and I think I shot the LA2A first, but it's actually being posted on YouTube second or something. I forget the way I did it. But yeah, I think I shot the LA2A first. Now again, the Warm Audio LA2A or the WA2A is $899. A real LA2A, if you buy one off the line today, is $3,500, I believe. And again, if you buy a vintage one, if you buy, you know, depending on which one you buy, you could spend 2 or 3 times that, depending on what you find. But again, $3,500 versus $900. So again, we got a big price gap there. How do you make a compressor, you know, for that amount of money? But let's get to the sound. So again, just like with the 1176, I compared it to a Universal Audio LA2A and also the CLA LA2A, because those are the 2 more popular ones. I know there's others and we've done all kinds of shootouts, but I wanted to compare it to things that most people are familiar with. And just like with the 1176, I found that the hardware had a little bit more width and a little bit more depth. Again, it was probably a 5% difference, maybe, you know, 5%, 7%. It wasn't like, oh my God, listen to that. It was such a stark difference, but you could definitely hear a difference. And I said in that video, and what I'm starting to realize, the more hardware that I incorporate into this and start comparing them to plugins, and we're going to do much more of this. But we did it already on the Neve preamps. If you remember, about 4 or 5 months ago, I did one on the Neve preamps already. I did one on the Neve EQs and compressors. And I keep finding the same thing. The hardware in every case that I've tested seems to be a little more 3-dimensional and a little bit wider to me in every case so far. Now, I haven't done all of them yet, and I haven't done this stuff yet. But the conclusion that I'm starting to draw is, if you're someone who has, say, one piece of hardware and everything else you're using is plugins, it's not making that much of a difference, right? It's maybe 5%, right? So there's a little difference on that one particular piece, but is it head and shoulders above plugins? Well, no, of course not. It's one unit. But to me, it's more of an accumulative effect thing. So as you start adding, if you're someone who does, you know, you have 2 pieces, 3 pieces, 4 pieces, 5 pieces of hardware. And if you have the right, you know, good quality stuff, that's where I think you start to hear a much bigger difference. It's a compound effect. One piece in and of itself doesn't make that big of a difference, but 4 or 5 pieces in a mix could make a huge difference. And we're going to test all that stuff out. But that's some of my first impressions of playing with this stuff. So we've now tested Neve hardware, Warm Audio hardware. I've already started to test some of the Wes Audio stuff, but the videos are coming, and then we're going to test more Wes Audio stuff. And even though this Wes Audio stuff isn't a one-to-one, emulation of a specific piece like the Warm Audio stuff, but it has some of that, at least this does, has that SSL kind of vibe to it. And we'll compare it to, like in this case, we'll compare this to like some SSL bus compressor plugins, just because that's the closest thing that it's going to kind of be, just to see if I'm still experiencing that same kind of phenomenon where the hardware just sounds a little bit more 3-dimensional to me. So that's what I'm starting to realize. And so we got to do a lot more testing for sure. And it'll be interesting to see how that kind of goes. So I hope you guys do check out the videos when they come out. One will come out next week, one will come out the following week, and then you'll start to see 3 weeks from now Wes Audio videos coming out, and we're going to demo all of it. And once I have all this stuff kind of hooked up into my rig, we'll do a live stream where we'll start comparing these pieces live, and you guys could hear them in real time, and we could talk about it and all that stuff. So it should be a lot of fun. But that's what I'm experiencing so far. So I thought you guys would maybe want to know that, because since we've been talking about hardware a lot. All right, let's see. Any questions? Let's see who's here. Jim, can we use the masterclass course credit to get the new mixing analog videos? Not that one, Jim, because that one is a much, that one is the mixing with analog style plugin course is a much, it's a more higher price course. It's not a $47 course. Regular price for that course is $127 because it is the most, it's actually longer than the masterclass. Though that's kind of a different course in and of itself. The credits you can use for anything else that's on the site. The ones that are the $47 courses, those, but this one is a different one. So I would say, at least at this time, though, those aren't really gonna be used for credits. I guess unless you bought the Pro package and you had 3 courses coming to you, if you wanted to use 3 of those credits to get one mixing with analog style plugins course, yeah, I guess I could do that. Just email me. I don't know what you bought specifically. I don't remember. So anyhow, let's see. Bad Spike. Hey, what's going on? Mixing in Studio One Volume 1 and 2 are great, but we're done back in version 3. Yes. Any plans to update that? Maybe a video touching on some of the newer features in Studio One 5.2. Yes, you're right. They are done in 3, and the reason why they're not really redone is because from a mixing perspective, especially Volume 1, which is absolute beginners, there's no real difference between version 5 and version 3. And here's my point. I'm glad you asked this. This kind of, I don't know if you heard me talking about 10 minutes ago, Bad Spike, but this is a great example of what I was talking about. For me to redo Mixing in Studio One Volume 1, to redo the course where I would feel comfortable selling you the course and wanting you to pay for it, it has to be enough of a jump to where I would feel good about charging people money for it, or even just creating it and taking the time out of my schedule to actually remake it. From a beginner's perspective, there is no difference between version 3 and version 5 in a mixing perspective. Are there a couple of little extra buttons here or there? Yes. Is it going to change that course enough for me to put it out and then try to charge you for it? No. And that's why it's not redone, right? Because I don't want to, I could just easily redo it and just sell it to you as a new course, but I don't do things like that. If I'm selling you an upgraded course, it's because it's a real upgrade, not even in the same stratosphere. So there's no plans to do the Studio One courses yet. Maybe if they come out with version 6 Studio One or version 7 where there is enough of a difference, or maybe like in Volume 2, Mixing in Studio One Volume 2, where I used all of their Fat Channel paid plugins. They really haven't added anything new. If there's something there that's new that I really feel like, okay, now it needs a good upgrade for people that are coming into Studio One, this would make sense, then I would do it, but not right now. You can buy the one in version 3 that you have, and 99.9% of everything applies to what happens in version 5.2. So that's why I haven't redone them yet. And I don't think I will. And like I said, unless PreSonus, and they'll eventually come out with version 6, and they'll come up with some new stuff from a mixing perspective where I'll say, you know what? Yeah, now it's time to redo them because this is a real quantum leap of an upgrade. All the new stuff that you see in 5, version 4, version 5, that they really added a bunch new features is really from a song production and really from a recording perspective. But that's a great question. So I would say if you have version 5, don't feel that buying Mixing in Studio One Volume 1, you're going to be missing something because you have version 5 and they're done in version 3. You're really not. You're really, truly not. If I felt there was, I would redo the course. And I'm sure at one point we will. Let's see. Is there... Oh, okay, cool. Let's see. Dave, cool. I'll see if I can track that down. Okay, great. Let's see. Drummers need in-ears. How about West Tone? Sure. Earphone types, close back. Oh, I hear what you're saying. I use in-ears for playing live. I use 64 Audio is the name of the company. They're custom molds. I've used Shure in-ears before. They're okay. They're not bad. They're not very expensive. They're I think they're $100, $150. They're not bad. The thing about in-ears, especially for drummers, Ian, and bass players is when you buy those, $200 set of, general purpose where they have the different tips that you fit to your ear canal. They don't get a lot of low end. They don't really get a good seal. And for drummers and for bass players, you don't get that bottom end because you don't get the custom seal, and they're usually only 1 or 2 drivers inside of those in-ears. When you get custom molds and you get custom in-ears, you can have up as much as, I think, 18. They have 18 drivers in some of them. I have one that has 12 in them, and the low end is unbelievable in my in-ears. And because they're custom molded, they fit your ear perfectly, so you get a nice seal. So if you weren't going to do custom in-ears, my opinion, especially for drummers or bass players, is just use over the top closed back headphones. And for drummers, use something like I think Vic Firth makes some, and there's a couple other companies, drumming companies, that make really nice ones that really seal really great and are really good for low ends. That's just my experience. But I know people that use regular in-ears and they're fine with them. But those are usually like singers, acoustic guitar players where they don't need the bottom ends. So anyhow, let's see. Excellent response. Much appreciated. Oh, no problem, Bad Spike. You'll only get honesty over here with me. Let's see. Joel says, custom in-ears are totally worth the money, being Ultimate Ears now for 5 years. Yeah, I looked at Ultimate Ears. Those are great too. I went with 64 Audio just based on a couple of my buddies' recommendations, and I'm really happy, but Ultimate Ears are great. There's a few other really great brands. I'll tell you what, when I started playing live with in-ears, God, I wish I would have done that years ago. I love playing live with in-ear monitors. Oh, they're great. I mean, it's so great to be able to hear everything nice and clear, to hear yourself the way you want to hear yourself, and to have consistency from performance to performance. The room doesn't matter. The acoustics of the place you're playing at doesn't matter. The positioning of the way, a lot of times, you play these little clubs and stuff, especially when you're playing live. They just throw you into the back corner of a room and you don't have the optimal setup where you could hear everybody in the band. Maybe you don't have a good PA system. You don't have good floor monitors. All that nonsense goes away with good in-ears. And I love playing with in-ear monitors. I would never, ever play live without them again. Never. So that's just my opinion. Cool. So we got 24 people here. Anyone have any questions about anything? If you have any questions about the new course or anything, feel free to ask. I'd be glad to try to answer anything I can. And I appreciate you all showing up for this impromptu live stream. Hopefully you guys kind of dig this with all the nice funky lights on it. This is going to be a lot of fun to play with. I'm really looking forward to playing with this. It's going to be a lot of fun. And I got to thank Sweetwater a whole bunch for sending it to me. This is an expensive piece of gear. For them to loan it to me like that is very kind. So cool. Oh yeah, Dave's putting in the chat. Yeah, so right. If you guys want to get the new course, it's 40% off. You can get it tonight at 40% off. So go ahead and get it at 40% off. Don't pay full price for it. Do yourself a favor. Don't do that. By the way, how many of you here have purchased the master class, and how are you liking it? Have you gone through it all? Have you gone through part of it? What do you think of for ones that have purchased the master class? You guys have had it now maybe a week or so, maybe a little more than a week. How do you guys like it so far? I'd be interested to know. Ian says, you didn't have SSL to start with for your third-party plugins, did you? Because I still feel SSL industry standard. Yeah, I use some SSL plugins in the new course. Yeah, there's some SSL plugins in there. Yep, there are. Well, it's the industry standard. It's one of the industry standard. Neve is just as much an industry standard. API is just as much an industry standard as SSL is. Those are the three big ones for sure. Those are the three big ones for sure. You're hoping that PreSonus can beat Pro Tools one day as the industry standard. Not anytime soon. Pro Tools is still the industry standard. If you work in the music business, you need to know Pro Tools. You just do. I'm not saying it's better than Studio One, because I don't feel that way. You guys know that, but it is the industry standard still. Will Studio One ever be the industry standard in a recording studio? I don't know. Maybe. I don't think it'll happen anytime soon. But maybe. Juan asks, is that a PRS to my right? That? Yes. This is a PRS 594. Oh my goodness, I don't want to drop it. You might don't know how well you can see the color. It's a green, it's like a black green color. This is a 594 double cut from 2016. So it's their take on the neck carve of a 59 Les Paul, but with a double cutaway. And it's got the 5815s, I think. Yeah. 5815s? Yeah, 5815 low turn pickups. So yeah, Paul Reed Smith. Really nice guitar. Can I do this without dropping a $4,000 guitar on the ground? There we go. Yeah. Yep. I have a couple of Paul Reed Smiths. I also have that. That's a 2020. That's a new one. That's a DGT, a Dave Grissom model. That's my favorite guitar. By far the best guitar I've ever played. Paul Reed Smith in general just make amazing instruments, but to me, that has all the sound and feel of a Les Paul, but it stays in tune and it doesn't weigh 100 pounds. It's great. Juan says he loves you love the colors. Yeah, no, Paul Reed Smith makes great stuff, man. They do. They make, for me, I mean, I own lots of guitars and they make just, I mean, impeccable quality. Yeah, they're pricey, definitely. But I'll tell you what, when you play one, especially, you know, I mean, they don't go out of tune. They always stay in tune. They just feel right. They intonate beautifully. You know, the craftsmanship is unbelievable. It really, truly is. And so I really like Paul Reed Smith stuff. I just love the way they sound. I love the way they feel. I love the craftsmanship. And I don't feel, even though they're the most expensive guitars I own, I never felt like, oh my goodness, I overpaid for this guitar. You think that because they are sticker shock. They are. I mean, that 594 I bought used, that if you bought a 594 and that's a 10 top in that finish, it's probably $4,500 brand new. That's a lot. That's a lot for a guitar. You could buy 2 Les Pauls for that price and have some money left over. But when you play it, you just go, oh my, you know, I mean, just a beautiful instrument. I really like their stuff. Really like their stuff. Let's see. PRS used to make some killer basses in the 80s. Oh, I didn't know that. I know they make some basses, but I didn't know they were well known for basses. Jim said he bought a PRS single cut last year. Oh, cool. Did you buy a 594 single cut? Yeah, I wanted the double cut, just easier access. But yeah, how do you like yours, Jim? Do you like your PRSs? Ian wants to know if there's any drummers in the chat. Anybody there? I'm not a drummer, but I can answer drum questions for you, or try to. I can try to help you. But yeah, if anyone that's a PRS player, if you ever have an opportunity to play a Dave Grissom model, a DGT, especially if you like kind of the Les Paul or the 3.3 Gibson 335 sound, but you don't like the fact that it's kind of big and bulky and that you don't have good access up the top of the neck. And if you play Gibsons, you know they don't stay in tune worth a damn. Try a Dave Grissom model. I mean, I even like it more than the 594. I mean, what a wonderful guitar that Dave Grissom model is. It's a wonderful instrument. If you ever have an opportunity to play it, check it out. I think you might like it if you're into PRS and you like their stuff, you know. Juan says, Juan's kind of a drummer. He's a bass player who plays drums. So, all right, let's see. Juan says, I'm not ready for the master class, but maybe next year. Oh, that's okay. Yeah, Juan, it's okay. It's going to open up in it's going to open up in about 3 months. And then it'll close again, and then it'll open again probably towards the end of the year. So definitely, you'll be ready. Don't worry. Don't worry. You'll definitely be ready. Let's see. Love the colors. Cool. Any other questions? Anything at all? You guys want me to get out of here, or do you guys want to hang out? You tell me. I don't mind hanging if you guys have anything you want to know. Who here bought the masterclass other than David S.J.? I know that some of you did. And let me know what you think of it. Let me know what you think of it. Definitely send me an email and let me know what you think of it. I'm interested to know. There will be, but there won't be any more courses. There may be one more late in the year. There will be a hybrid mixing course for sure. But I don't know. I don't think it'll be done until maybe around the holiday time or the beginning of next year. But that will be the next one. Will be hybrid mixing. Will definitely be a course that we will definitely do. Now that I have all this hardware, and I'll be able to show you how to do that if it's something that you guys are interested in. So you'll see that. The problem with Gibson Les Pauls is the scale. It seems that the intonation is a bit iffy towards the 15th fret. This is true of all fretted instruments, but particularly the Gibson Les Pauls. Yeah, Gibson Les, they're famous for that, right? They're famous for, you know, their G string. Well, a lot of their tuning issues too have to do with the angle of the headstock and the way the string pull is. But yeah, you're right. But Gibson Les Paul's an iconic guitar, and I've had many Les Pauls over the years. I've bought and sold many of them, and I've had a couple of really nice ones, but they just don't compare. I mean, I found I don't play them because I would rather play my PRSs. They just play so much nicer. I don't need to worry about all that other nonsense. They just play great. And they sound great. They sound, like I said, that DGT sounds as good as any Les Paul I've ever played. From a tonality standpoint, it's got that big, beefy Les Paul sound, if that's what you want, which is really cool. Jim says you got a PRS S2. Oh yeah, the S2 line. Yeah. It's like a Les Paul Studio with no binding but bird inlays. Cool. Yeah, the S2 line's really, that's a really great value. The only difference really between the S2 line and the Core series is that some of the finish options are not as pretty, right? You don't get binding, some of those little cosmetic things. But from a playability standpoint, from a craftsmanship standpoint, they're as good as their Core models are, for sure. They just don't, the Core models have a little bit more of the bells and whistles if you're into that. That's all. Juan says you love your Avatones. Oh yeah, that's right. Juan got the set of the, you got the red ones, the anniversary edition, the red ones. I didn't even know they made those. That's awesome. I told you were going to love them, man. Those Avatones are great speakers to check your mixes on. Great speakers. If you could get your mid-range to sound right on those Avatones, your mix will translate in any playback system you put it on. They're really great. I'm glad you got them, and I'm glad you like them because they're really great. Let's see. Ian says, what Stratocasters sound for Fenders as well? I don't understand what you're saying, Ian. What's Stratocasters sound for? I don't play Strats. I've owned a few, and I just never get on with a Strat, and it's not my thing. Jim says, I play it more than my Les Pauls. Oh, your S2? Yeah. As soon as I got turned on the PRS guitars and found the couple that I like, I didn't pick up my Les Pauls either. It's funny, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 months ago, I played primarily the DGT for the most part, or one of the Wolfgangs I'll play. This even plays better than a Les Paul, by far. And so I was just one practice, I decided, let me change it up, let me put my Les Paul back on and play it for a practice. Man, by the time that rehearsal was over, my hands were killing me. It was such a hard guitar to play compared to these other guitars that I have. Even these guitars, these Wolfgangs, from a playability standpoint, are far better than any Gibson Les Paul that I've ever played. But the Gibson Les Paul is a cool guitar, man. It looks cool. It's iconic, right? It's really cool. So, I don't play my Les Pauls at all. I only have one now, and I don't play it. And then I have my 335 behind me that I really like. I like that a lot. I play that every once in a while. And that plays really nice. It stays in tune. It's not like the Les Paul where it goes out of tune a lot. I like the 335 quite a bit, but I haven't picked up my Les Paul in ages. I just don't play it because I'd much rather play the PRSs. They're just easier to play for me. So anywho, okay, let's see. We've been here, about an hour. So we got 26 people. Once again, Go check out Mixing with Analog Style Plugins. If you decide to pick it up, let me know once you get through all 20, whatever it is, 20 hours of it. It's over 20 hours. Send me an email and let me know what you think of it. I really want you to do that, especially if you have the original, because I want you to tell me if you think the new one is much better than the original, like I'm telling you it is, and if there's other things too that you feel that, again, can be improved. I like to get your guys' feedback, because as these new courses get developed, I really do use your feedback where I can to try to improve on them. So anytime I put out something new for you guys, it's better than what it was before, and it adds more value for you. So your feedback is really important. So I'd be really interested for people who pick up the new Mixing with Analog Style plugins to check it out. And as I tell anybody, if you use third-party plugins, I don't care what company it is. I don't care if it's Waves or Universal Audio or Steven Slate or FabFilter or Plugin Alliance or Acoustica or Arteri, or I don't care who it is. If you use those kinds of plugins, you really ought to check out this course, because it really shows you how to use them in the most effective way to achieve an analog style mix. Okay, it really, really does. If you buy those plugins and you're just kind of winging it as you go, you're really not getting out of those plugins what you think you are. There is a method to the madness to setting up an analog mix in the digital audio workstation to make it sound like a professional record. And I take you through that process. So it is far more than just comparing the sound of the plugins. That's only the first half of the course. The whole second half of the course is how we use it in a very practical way so you can get the mix and get the most out of these plugins, right? So to me, don't go buy any more of these plugins until you've had an opportunity to watch this course, because I think you'll find that you'll get more out of the plugins once you've taken this kind of course, in my opinion. Let's see, Jim. Oh, Jimmy just bought it. Thank you, brother. I appreciate it. Okay, Jim, so now you got to let me know in about a week or two when you're done with it, because you're always in the live streams. I want you to remind me, and I'm going to ask you what you think of it. I want to know. I really want your feedback. A lot of the guys give me feedback all the time, and it's not always, it's mostly positive, but I can't tell you how many times either Jimmy Farmer or David here, SJ, has said, hey man, this is great, but you know what? Take a look at this and this. And I've used a lot of their suggestions in the masterclass, so because they're giving me an outside perspective from a student point of view, where, how does it measure up? Are there any holes in it? Do we need to fill, are we missing something? Did I not explain something clear enough? And so that feedback is real important to me, because that enables me to make the next course better. Not that we're going to upgrade these courses anytime soon. We're not. We got 5 years before these have to be redone again. But when we do the hybrid mixing course, I want to incorporate and get better at that to be able to teach that to you and bring that to you in a way that adds the maximum amount of value for you. And same thing with any other courses that are going to be coming down the pike. There'll be a few around recording, though. Maybe not mixing so much. We covered a lot of the mixing, but recording. So your feedback's important, Jim. So I want to know. Dave says, take the course and buy some plugins and buy some more. There you go. How many do you need? Just one more plugin. Yeah, well, you really don't need a whole lot of them, but they're all fun. All right, man, so we still got 20 people here. We're going to wrap it up. Again, I want to thank everybody for all of your support. Thanks for joining me for the live stream. The next live stream that we do will probably be at the workstation with a session up and going through some of this hardware and listening and doing a lot of A/B testing and just experiencing what this stuff can do, or maybe what it can't do in certain cases. I don't know. We're going to find out together. So that'll probably come up in the next week or so. So in the meantime, keep close to the YouTube channel. There's 2 videos coming out every single week. Make sure you get this new course if you want to check it out. And I will see you guys pretty soon. Okay? Thanks, everybody. Thanks, everyone, for joining. I appreciate it. Have a great rest of your weekend, and I'll talk to you soon. See you later.